1947, a year etched in the memory of every Indian. It was a time of unparalleled significance, a moment that marked the end of nearly 2 centuries of British colonial rule. The air was thick with anticipation and hope, as millions of Indians looked forward to a future of self-governance and sovereignty. It was the year we broke free from the shackles of colonial rule, a moment that had been long awaited and hard fought. The struggle for independence had seen countless sacrifices, and now the dream was finally a reality. The year we finally breathed the air of freedom. Streets were filled with jubilant crowds, waving the tricolour flag, singing patriotic songs, and celebrating the dawn of a new era. It was a time of immense pride and collective joy. Yet this freedom came at a heart-wrenching cost: the partition of our motherland. The subcontinent was divided into 2 separate nations, India and Pakistan, leading to one of the largest mass migrations in human history. The birth of India and Pakistan as independent nations was marred by unprecedented violence and displacement. Families were torn apart, homes were abandoned, and millions were forced to flee their ancestral lands in search of safety. It was a time of immense joy and profound sorrow, a paradox of emotions that left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of the people. The celebrations of independence were juxtaposed with the grief of partition, creating a complex tapestry of human experience. A time that continues to shape the destinies of both nations. The legacy of 1947 is still felt today, as India and Pakistan navigate their paths as independent countries, forever linked by their shared history and the events of that fateful year. The seeds of partition were sown long before 1947. The British policy of divide and rule had deepened religious tensions between Hindus and Muslims. The Muslim League, under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, demanded a separate Muslim state. The Indian National Congress, led by Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, fought for a united India. Despite their best efforts, the chasm between the 2 communities proved too wide to bridge. On August 15, 1947, India finally achieved its long-cherished dream of independence. The air was filled with an overwhelming sense of joy and triumph. People from all walks of life poured into the streets, their faces beaming with pride and hope for a new beginning. The long and arduous struggle for freedom had finally borne fruit, and the nation was ready to chart its own destiny. The Indian tricolour was hoisted high, marking the end of centuries of British rule. As the flag ascended, it symbolized not just political freedom, but the collective aspirations of millions who had dreamt of this day. The sight of the flag fluttering in the wind was a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by countless freedom fighters. It was a moment of immense pride and unity, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Indian people. However, the celebrations were short-lived. The partition, announced just a few weeks earlier, had plunged the nation into chaos. The joyous occasion was marred by unprecedented violence and turmoil. Communities that had coexisted for centuries were suddenly torn apart. The streets, once filled with jubilant crowds, now echoed with cries of anguish and despair. The dream of a united India was shattered, replaced by the harsh reality of division and bloodshed. The hastily drawn borders, known as the Radcliffe Line, divided Punjab and Bengal, leaving millions on the wrong side of the divide. The line, drawn with little regard for the social and cultural fabric of the region, created deep fissures that would take decades to heal. Families were split, homes were abandoned, and lives were uprooted overnight. The arbitrary nature of the division sowed seeds of mistrust and animosity that would haunt the subcontinent for generations. The announcement triggered one of the largest mass migrations in human history. Millions of people were forced to leave their ancestral homes, embarking on perilous journeys to seek refuge in an unfamiliar land. The roads were filled with endless streams of refugees, carrying whatever belongings they could salvage. The journey was fraught with danger, as communal violence erupted along the way. The human cost of partition was staggering, with countless lives lost and families torn apart. The legacy of partition remains a poignant reminder of the complexities and challenges of nation building. The partition witnessed an unprecedented human tragedy. Millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs were forced to flee their homes, crossing newly created borders in search of safety and a new life. Families were torn apart, homes were looted and burned, and unspeakable atrocities were committed on both sides. A grandmother often spoke of the harrowing journey she made from Lahore to Delhi, carrying her infant son in her arms. The partition left an indelible scar on the psyche of both India and Pakistan. It was a momentous event that not only redrew the map of the subcontinent, but also reshaped the lives of millions. The decision to divide British India into two independent dominions, India and Pakistan, was fraught with tension and conflict. The hurried and poorly planned execution of this decision led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history. The violence claimed the lives of an estimated 200,000 to 2 million people. Communities that had coexisted for centuries were suddenly torn apart by religious and ethnic strife. The streets ran red with blood as neighbors turned against each other, driven by fear, anger, and a sense of betrayal. The scale of the violence was unprecedented, leaving deep wounds that have yet to heal. The displacement of millions more created a humanitarian crisis of unimaginable proportions. Families were uprooted from their ancestral homes, forced to leave behind everything they had ever known. The journey to safety was perilous, with many succumbing to hunger, disease, and violence along the way. Refugee camps sprang up, but they were ill-equipped to handle the sheer number of people in need. The conditions were dire, with inadequate food, water, and medical supplies. The trauma of partition continues to haunt generations on both sides of the border. Survivors carry with them the memories of loss and suffering, and these stories have been passed down to their children and grandchildren. The psychological scars are deep, affecting not just those who lived through the partition, but also their descendants. The pain of separation, the loss of loved ones, and the destruction of communities have left an enduring legacy of grief and sorrow. The stories of loss, displacement, and violence have been passed down through families, keeping the wounds of the past raw and painful. These narratives serve as a reminder of the horrors of partition and the resilience of those who survived. They also highlight the need for reconciliation and understanding between the two nations. As we remember the past, we must also look to the future, striving to build a world where such tragedies never happen again. Despite the immense challenges, India began the arduous task of rebuilding itself from the ashes of partition. Led by the visionary leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, India adopted a democratic constitution and embarked on a path of economic and social development. The newly independent nation faced numerous challenges, including poverty, illiteracy, and social inequality. The legacy of partition continues to cast a long shadow over India. The event continues to shape India's domestic and foreign policies. The unresolved issue of Kashmir remains a major flashpoint between India and Pakistan. 77 years after partition, relations between India and Pakistan remain strained. The two nuclear-armed neighbors have fought 3 wars since 1947. The mistrust and animosity engendered by partition continue to hinder dialogue and cooperation. Terrorism emanating from Pakistan remains a major obstacle in the path of normalization of relations. Yet today, Pakistan remains the epicenter of terrorism. After the creation of Pakistan, it attacked India several times, and we Indians have given them a befitting reply. We will bring a series of videos on subsequent wars fought between India and Pakistan in upcoming series. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.